Bozeman, Montana, in the year 1869, was a bustling frontier town, a gateway to the gold fields and fertile lands further west. Miners and settlers passed through, lured by the promise of fortune and new beginnings. However, amidst the hope and opportunity, a dark shadow loomed, a serial killer known as the Bozeman Butcher. It all began with whispers among the miners and settlers about missing companions. Men who had been seen in town, enjoying a drink at the local saloon, or buying supplies at the general store, never reached their destinations. Their trails went cold, and the wilderness of Montana swallowed them whole. The missing were mostly miners, lured by tales of better trails and hidden gold deposits, and settlers, eager to find the easiest path to their new homesteads. The town's sheriff, Elijah Carter, was at his wits' end. Reports kept piling up, but with no bodies and no clear evidence, there was little he could do. The disappearances remained a haunting mystery, a blight on the town's growing reputation. William F. Pierce was a well-known figure in Bozeman. A successful businessman, he owned the largest general store in town and was known for his generosity and helpful nature. Pierce was always ready with advice for the newcomers, suggesting routes and shortcuts that would make their journeys easier. He was the last friendly face many saw before they vanished into the Montana wilderness. Pierce's reputation as a good Samaritan grew, even as the number of missing persons increased. No one suspected that the affable store owner might have a darker side. One cold autumn morning, a young miner named Jacob Hill arrived in Bozeman. He had traveled from the east, hoping to strike it rich. Jacob was cautious, aware of the stories about the disappearances, but he needed supplies and guidance. At Pierce's store, Jacob was greeted warmly. Pierce, with his usual charm, offered advice on the best route to the gold fields. "There's a hidden trail," Pierce said, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "It's quicker and safer than the main road. I can show you where it starts." Jacob thanked him and followed the directions. However, Jacob was different from the others. He was suspicious by nature. When he reached the trail, he found no signs that it had been used recently. The unease gnawed at him, and he decided to return to town and take the main road instead. That night, as Jacob made his way back, he felt the hairs on his neck stand up. The woods were unnaturally silent. Suddenly, he was ambushed. A figure stepped out from the shadows, striking him with a heavy object. Jacob fell, his vision blurring, but not before he glimpsed the face of his attacker, William F. Pierce. Pierce, unaware that Jacob had recognized him, rifled through Jacob's belongings, taking his money and supplies. He dragged Jacob's body deeper into the woods, intending to finish the job. But Jacob, with the last of his strength, managed to crawl away, collapsing behind a dense thicket. Jacob was found the next day by a group of hunters and brought back to Bozeman, barely alive. His story spread like wildfire through the town. For the first time, there was a concrete suspect, William F. Pierce. Sheriff Carter, armed with Jacob's testimony, confronted Pierce. The businessman denied everything, calling Jacob's accusations the ravings of a delirious man. However, Carter began to dig deeper, looking for any evidence that could link Pierce to the disappearances. Weeks passed, and the tension in Bozeman grew. The sheriff's investigation was slow, hindered by the lack of solid evidence. But then, a group of townsfolk discovered a hidden shack in the woods, filled with blood-stained tools, clothing, and personal belongings of the missing men. It was the lair of the Bozeman Butcher. Among the items, they found a ledger with detailed notes about each victim, their names, descriptions, and the amounts of money and valuables taken from them. The handwriting was unmistakably Pierce's. Before Sheriff Carter could arrest him, Pierce fell gravely ill. Tuberculosis had ravaged his body, and he was confined to his bed, too weak to move. The townsfolk, furious and desperate for justice, demanded his immediate arrest, but Pierce's condition rendered any trial moot. On his deathbed, Pierce maintained his innocence, but the evidence was damning. He died a few days later, taking any secrets he might have held to his grave. The town was left with a sense of unresolved anger and sorrow. The Bozeman Butcher, it seemed, would never face earthly justice. Pierce's death did little to quell the unease in Bozeman. The discovery of his hidden shack confirmed the worst fears of many, but without a trial or confession, a cloud of doubt hung over the town. Families of the missing men found some solace in knowing the likely culprit had been identified, but they still mourned the loss of their loved ones. Sheriff Carter continued his work, determined to restore a sense of safety and order. He increased patrols along the main trails and encouraged travelers to move in groups. Over time, the number of disappearances dwindled, and life in Bozeman began to return to normal. Years passed, and the legend of the Bozeman Butcher became part of the town's lore. Stories of William F. Pierce's supposed crimes were told around campfires and in local saloons, growing more embellished with each retelling. The tale served as a cautionary reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the most benign of facades. In 1889, on the 20th anniversary of the discovery of Pierce's crimes, the townspeople erected a memorial to honor the victims of the Bozeman Butcher. The names of the missing men were inscribed on a plaque, ensuring they would not be forgotten. The story of the Bozeman Butcher is a chilling reminder of the perils that once haunted the frontier. The legend of William F. Pierce, the charming businessman with a deadly secret, continues to captivate the imagination of those who hear it. While justice may have eluded him in life, the memory of his deeds and the lives he took will forever be etched into the history of Bozeman, Montana. The tale serves as a testament to the resilience of a community that faced unimaginable horror and emerged stronger, united by their shared grief and determination to prevent such evil from taking root again. The Bozeman Butcher may be gone, but his legacy endures, a dark chapter in the annals of Montana's frontier history.